Welcome to another Coaching Wisdom Pod. We have Kevin Stanfield with us. He's a business growth expert helping business owners and directors with their game of business. He's the managing director at Action Coach Solent. He does business coaching and training there. He's also a speaker and an author. So we're going to talk about his background, about coaching lessons and everything in between. This podcast presented to you by podbuyer.com. If you want to start your podcast and scale it, go to podbuyer.com. Kev, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thanks, Charles. Yeah, no, it's great to be on the show. Thanks for having me along. I've been around business most of my life now. Parents had businesses, so I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, went into finance, helped a number of small businesses, and then got into being a finance director, grew a couple of businesses to multi-millions. Got bored of that when they get big. They got a bit boring in my books. So I jumped ship, went back to university, did an MBA, and then came out and started coaching. I hadn't heard of business coaching up until that point in time. I was well into my sports, so I got the concept of if you're good at a sport, you want to be better at a sport, you go and find a coach to help you. And I thought it'd be a real need within the business community, because by that time my father's business had gone bust. He basically was 55 and never worked again after that. So I'd seen the highs of business and I'd seen the lows of business, and that's really was my passion, was to help business owners to not necessarily start their business. I tend to work with people who have been in their business for a number of years, but struggle to break through and get it into that multi-millions size, and eventually build it so they can sell it. And since COVID, the world changed a little bit during COVID. And since then, I've not only been doing that with clients that want to grow their own business, but I've also been buying businesses of those people that don't want to grow, and want to get out quickly. And then myself and a few business partners, we then take that business and do all the things we would have taught them to do, but we do them ourselves, with a view to growing a portfolio and then selling it.
That's an impressive background. Your dad going bust. Do you think that there's value in going bust? Because me on my side, I've never gone bankrupt, but I had like big L's, 5, 6 figure L's, which I had to recover from. And I think I learned tons from these, and I've grown like my resilience muscle through these, and I'm not scared of much anything in business nowadays. So is there value in reaching the bottom of the barrel?
There's, I think I did a few years of motorcycle racing, and the reason I gave up was I wasn't prepared to crash, and the guys that were good were prepared to crash. And I think that's the story of life. No one wants to, and I would say, do whatever you can to avoid it. But if you do, don't let it get you down. There's many people that have been faced that point, as you said, faced big loans. What it does, it makes you resilient, so the small things don't worry you as much. But B, failure is where your biggest learning is. So you learn more from your failures than you do your successes. So you want to fail. I didn't say fail fast, but you take calculated risks and fail that you can afford to bounce back. It's not a case of taking undue risks and being stupid. You want to do things with the best chance of success, but that is part of any game. If you play any sport, you go out wanting to win, maybe expecting to win. But if you lose, then you take it on the chin and you come back the next time stronger and with more determination.
Right. You don't want to get injured slash traumatized in the process, but I guess not doing so requires, much practice. I guess there's a due time for everything. And there's a due mindset for that as well. Because if you fail and you keep repeating to yourself that you're failure and you're never gonna get back in the game, then guess what? That's exactly what's gonna happen. In your coaching practice, what challenges do you often see in your entrepreneurs, and what potential solutions you have to these?
I would say the biggest challenge that most people in business come across, and it was highlighted to me in a book by Michael Gerber. I don't know if you come across that, called The E-Myth, the entrepreneurial myth, where he said that 80 to 90% of business owners are not entrepreneurs. They are technicians, so they're good at the job that they do, and they're fed up with working for an idiot boss, so they decide to start working for a complete lunatic, which is themselves, because they've got no training in running a business. They've never done it before, yet there's that feeling that I want to have control of my own destiny. So they might have had, so an accountant would start an accountancy practice, a plumber would start a plumbing business. So they may have 5 years, 10 years of experience in the skill set that they're actually doing, but they don't have 5, 10 years experience in running a business. So they have to accept that they're starting from zero knowledge of how to run, scale, build, sell, buy a business. And I think that's the biggest thing I have to overcome is getting people to understand that they actually don't know anything. Even if they've been in business 20 years, most of them have just done 1 or 2 years of business and just repeated that for the next 20 years, which is why they don't grow.
So these
So
entrepreneurs will make like 6 figure a year and will never scale quite literally their whole life until they do what?
they hit this glass ceiling. So generally, we find that somewhere up to about 1 million turnover. And because they're so actively involved in the business, everything comes to them until they learn to let go and build a team around them of better people, and then to be able to train that team, motivate that team, discipline that team, hire them, fire them, then they're destined to be the business. And any business that is dependent on the owner is not sellable. You can't sell a business that the guy's going to or gal's going to disappear the moment they get the money. So they severely handicap themselves within their business. They basically bought themselves a job. And no one wants to buy a job. Why would I pay you money to end up doing what you're doing? I want to buy a business that works without you, and is scalable. Through the people that it has and the systems it has and the customer base it has.
Right. You've heard a lot of business crazy stories. What are the most poignant ones that would be relevant for the CEO audience here?
Oh God, the craziest. I think the majority, when it comes to build, if you want to scale a business, you've got to be able to build a team of people. So most of the horror stories revolve around people. Most of the success stories revolve around people. It's an individual will get a business to probably 250,000, 500,000 through their own blood, sweat, and tears. If you want to go beyond that, it's your ability to drive that through other team members. So, one of the companies I actually, before I was coaching, and this is what led me to actually go back to university to learn how to do it, was we were trying to employ a general manager, so a managing director for this company, because the owner, it was too big for one person to run. He wanted to take a step back, so we said, right, we'll go out, we'll interview, we'll get headhunters in. We took on, in an 18-month period, we took on 3 managing directors. And I reckon that cost us, because even the third one didn't work out, that cost us around about 2.5 million quid. That failure to be able to find the right person for the role cost us a hell of a lot of money. And that's what happens when you do things because you don't know, you haven't done it before, and you don't go and seek help and support from a coach or from other advisors, mentors who have been there, done it, and can actually advise you on the best way to actually achieve that.
What are your goals for this year?
So the goals for this year, last year we acquired 4 businesses, and they were reasonably small because we were just testing what we could do. So the goal for this year is another couple of acquisitions that will double the size of our portfolio. And then we'll be looking over the next 2 years to build those, and then to be looking to sell them in probably 2 to 3 years' time.
Selling, buying businesses, any advice for us?
Which one? So, but buy low, sell high. That's that's the same with everything.
Post-COVID.
So, post COVID, there's a lot more businesses for sale. A lot of people have, we've bought a lot of internet-based businesses sort of this year because there was a COVID spike. So a lot of businesses grew rapidly during COVID because that was the only way you could buy things. And they expanded their teams, they expanded their warehouses, their overheads. And post-COVID, sales have dropped back down. So their overhead is far too big to cover for their revenue. And because they've never been through a recession, yes, is their recession basically, they don't know how to restructure. Maybe they've got fed up with the business. And so, being able to see an opportunity and know what to do with that business is key. It's a bit like a house. If you go into a house and you're a really good DIYer, painter, decorator, you can go into the worst house, on the street and can see the potential in it. If you're like me with houses and you've got no idea how to do painting and decorating, you have to go and buy a brand new house that everything's already done, and that will cost you more money, than going in and buying the wreck and doing it up yourself. So that's really how you buy low. Is you find, I wouldn't say the car crashes, because they've still got to be, you've got to be able to turn them around, but you've got to be able to see how to add value, how to reduce cost, how to increase. That's the skill set, which, some people are just naturally good at that. I wouldn't say I'm naturally good at it, but I've learned over the 20, 30 years I've been around businesses as to which ones look good and which ones you should leave behind.
What podcasting tips do you have for us / content tips?
What, as a host or as a guest?
Both.
I think as a host, I'm sort of coming towards the end of a world podcast tour at the moment, so I've done, I think, about 40 in the last 12 months. The best ones and the ones I've enjoyed most is with hosts who have done a bit of research, that ask good questions, like you've done. You know your subject, you ask good questions and engage with the conversation. I think as a guest on them, you've got to know your topic, you've got to know what you're talking about, and I think you've got to have an interesting story behind it, and that's what I would hope people listen to.
On the content side of things, do you recycle that content? How do you make sure that it reaches the most pair of eyes as possible?
I would say, like a lot of things, probably 60 to 80% is the same story, just repeated in a slightly different way, because it's a bit like if you're going on promoting a book, you're talking about the book. If you're talking about a film, you're talking about the films. So some of it will be, but that's why I say the quality of the host pulls out the nuances, and each audience is slightly different. So each host will ask slightly different questions because they know their audience and what their audience will enjoy.
And how do you generate your leads nowadays?
Leads for what?
Your business.
For the coaching business or the acquisition business?
Whichever. Give it us all the tips.
You want all the secrets, Charles?
All of them.
All the secrets. The coaching these days is predominantly referrals. So people, I'm not actively looking to sort of grow coaching massively. I tend to be selective who I work with, and I'm looking for interesting businesses and interesting business owners who have a real clear, let's say clear path, but they do want to achieve something and they're willing to invest the time and money in that. On the acquisition side, we've so far we've just been going to brokers, so we've found it fairly easy to go through brokers and then do deals through there. But we've now got a bit of a strategy to actually target certain types of people directly, and that's just been launched this week. So that's letters, emails, LinkedIn. So it's a bit of a multi-channel approach to shake the tree a little bit and find these businesses that probably sitting there going, I don't really want to sell, but I am interested in learning about what I would need to do to sell. So because I've gone on the basis that if you want to grow your business and you want to sell it for 2-3 times what it's worth today, then I'll help you do that. I'm quite happy to help somebody through that journey. But if you've come to the end and you just want to take the money and run, then I can do that as well. So it gives you people a couple of options.
Last, who are you learning from nowadays?
Who am I learning from? I've always enjoyed learning from books. So I run a book club with a lot of my clients and past clients. So we read a book a month, and then we get together and learn from that. Being part of Action Coach is because it's a big organization, global organization. We have guest speakers every week on our podcast, so there's great content there. We have an event called BizX, the Business Excellence Forum, where we bring in top speakers from around the world and have a 2 days education from those people. So at the moment, I'm going through the $100 million leads. Alex, forget his second name. We had his $100 million offers was last quarter's book. So we're doing leads this month, and the big one I've just got Elon Musk's autobiography to get through, but that's 20 hours of audio to listen to. So I think I might need a holiday to get through that one.
Right, Elon's biography is poignant as usual. Me as a lead guy, $100 million leads was pretty bad, but $100 million offer, definitely a great book. Where can people find out more about you, Kev?
Best place is LinkedIn. So everyone's got access to LinkedIn. So just Kevin Stanfield on LinkedIn, and you'll see me come up on there. There aren't many of us Kevin Stansfields around, so please connect me on that. If you're interested in my books, I've got a couple of books. One is on the great game, which is about the similarities between business and golf. I love my golf, and during COVID I couldn't play golf, so I wrote a book about the similarities of business and golf. And so if you try get the great game into Amazon and my name, and then the other one is The Big Dipper, which is my first book, which is based on my father's story about buying a business, growing it, and then this one has a happy ending because he sells the business. Unfortunately, in real life, he didn't manage to sell it. So it was my tribute to my father of what should have been if he'd met somebody like me. So